Hello, everybody. So, last week I gave you the results of the House races, and this week I'm going to give you the results of the Senate races and give you my thoughts. Like as like I did last week, I'm only going to give you the results of the states that were competitive that we weren't really sure what the result was going to be. So, that's what I'm going to do for you this week. So, we're going to start in Alabama. We kind of knew that incumbent Doug Jones was not going to win. He's been there since 2018, won a special election over. Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and say he beat a pedophile by 2 points, and the guy's name was Roy Moore. I'm not sure if you remember, but you know, the man he was running against this year, Tommy Tuberville, was not a pedophile. He was the Auburn football coach for about 10 years, and what was I going to say? So Auburn football coach for 10 years, and he beat Jeff Sessions in a runoff. So, Jeff Sessions also ran for this, but the fact that he'd been fired by Trump and that Trump had endorsed Tuberville really didn't help him. So Tuberville won the runoff, and now he's won the general. And Tuberville he's kind of got a little bit of Trump in him. He's very off the cuff, but I'll be curious to see how he acts as a senator. Now we're going to go to Arizona. Martha McSally, who was appointed 2 years ago, lost to. Martha McSally is a Republican, I need to add, and Tommy Tuberville is also, if I didn't mention that. But Martha McSally was defeated by Mark Kelly. Mark Kelly was an astronaut, and he's the husband of former Congresswoman Gabby Giffords. If you don't know her story, she was shot at point blank range in the head at a town hall meeting, and she's been an advocate for or against gun violence, and she's done a lot of work there. And I'm glad that he's following in her footsteps of public service and continuing to serve in another role. So in Colorado, we had John Hickenlooper, the former Democratic governor, beat incumbent Republican Cory Gardner. That was expected, so I'm not going to cover that too much, but that did happen, so there you go. Michigan, this one was close for a while, but incumbent Democrat Gary Peters ultimately prevailed over Republican John James, who's a businessman. He ran last time against Debbie Stabenow, but he lost again, unfortunately, for the Republicans. But, that's one of many. Not that they contested, and they actually did better than I thought they would so far, as similarly to the House results. Can I not talk today? What's going on? Okay, I'm going to continue now. North Carolina, we had Democrat Cal Cunningham get defeated by Republican incumbent Tom Tillis. Cal Cunningham, I mean, he probably could have won. He had a scandal where he was sexting some woman about how nervous he was about running or something. I don't really know. I mean, if you're so nervous about what the result is going to be, why would you want to go sex somebody about it? Maybe you should spend more time campaigning rather than sexting. Maybe that would have helped. I don't know. Trump is ahead in North Carolina, so it may not have helped. I mean, who knows? But that's kind of ridiculous. That didn't help him any for sure. Okay, so Tom Tillis won over Sexter. South Carolina, we had Lindsey Graham got reelected against Jamie Harrison, and they spent a lot of money on Jamie Harrison, and it's kind of disappointing that he couldn't do it. But it is South Carolina after all. Maine, this is another disappointing one for Democrats. So-called moderate Susan Collins was reelected over Sarah Gideon, the Democrat. So Susan Collins is a moderate Republican at times. Sometimes she goes nuts and votes for a judge or two for the Republicans, but usually she's fairly moderate. Um, Usually, unless we need her to be, the Democrats, that is. All right, Montana. Who was that? Steve Bullock lost to Steve Daines. Steve Daines is a Republican incumbent. Steve Bullock was a very popular governor, but it didn't seem to be enough to pull him over the edge and win this race. Kentucky. Oh Lord, this isn't good. Well, Republican incumbent Mitch McConnell was reelected over Amy McGrath. And let me just talk a little about this. Amy McGrath spent like $100 million and she has like nothing to show for it. But I supported Charles Booker over Amy McGrath in the primary, but sometimes people just never learn. They don't do what is needed to win, or they don't want to win sometimes. So just I'm sure she did want to win, but she really didn't look like she was trying. I mean, if you can piss away 100 million, that's pretty disappointing. But I mean, he raised a lot of money too, so I mean, I'll add that in as a little bit of context. And he's like pretty powerful. So anyway, Georgia, there are we don't know the results yet because Georgia has a law that if no candidate receives over 50%, there's a runoff. So those two runoffs are in January. We have Republican incumbent David Perdue against John Ossoff, and we have Republican appointed Republican incumbent Kelly Loeffler against Pastor Raphael Warnock. And both, I guess I did say, but both incumbents are Republicans. Iowa, Joni Ernst defeated Teresa Greenfield, and Joni Ernst had a really terrible, embarrassing moment at a debate the other day. They asked her opponent, Teresa Greenfield, the price of corn, and for some reason she knew it. Then they gave Joni Ernst, they asked her the price of soybeans, and she was very far off, and I don't think she was expecting that question, and she just had no idea. She tried to play it off, and it was really uncomfortable and made me cringe, but it was pretty funny, but it didn't seem to help her. It didn't seem to hurt her overall. In fact, I mean, after that debate, her poll numbers might have gone up, so I really don't know what happened. I mean, I guess I don't know if that probably doesn't have anything to do with the poll numbers, though. The last one is Texas. Republican incumbent John Cornyn defeated. Okay, so I don't know if the video cut off abruptly or what. I've done some editing, but if it cut off at the last part, I was saying that Republican incumbent John Cornyn defeated MJ Hagar, and she was the Democrat. So um, that should conclude today's video. If you haven't already subscribed, please subscribe. I'd really appreciate it, and it helps me a lot. And also, like this video, give it a thumbs up. Those are two ways of saying the same thing, but please do that. That also helps me a lot. So that's all I've got for you today. Thank you for watching, and thank you for your time.